Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Tuesday Talk. I'm so glad you're here with us today. We have an incredible day planned. Today is going to be a roundtable discussion day. Erica Deneve and Linda Millett, Bonnie Manning, they have some things that they want to possibly be sharing. And then we're also going to be asking the rest of you if you have something that you want to share too. We want to give you some time to do that today. Today the focus is going to be on what is the Holy One speaking to us today. So I want to say welcome to everyone who's watching here live, everyone who's on the replay, and all of those of you that are listening by podcast. We just want to bless you. Thank you for joining us here on Tuesday Talk. We are delighted to have you. What an amazing week it has been, ladies. I mean, seriously. Linda, I'm gonna start with you, my friend. This week, you said something to me that was just it was magnificent. We were talking about our Torah portion, and the Torah portion this week is Belach, and you were saying, isn't it interesting how the 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 children of Israel have no idea what's going on, and here we are transported into the back scenes, the backstage of what's happening. Isn't that interesting? We're being transported into the scenes, the behind the scenes things that are going on, and those that are being that will be the most affected have no idea what's going on. Right, Linda?
True.
Yeah.
And behind the scenes, the Holy One is really moving and managing this situation as you're trying to curse Israel. And what I was just in awe about is that still wasn't allowed to curse. Balaam was not allowed to curse Israel. Because technically, I guess from that standpoint, if you want to think about it, it can't be. The Holy One's not going to allow them to be cursed. They're being insulated from that, because he's going to bless those who bless him and curse those who curse him. So even though the enemy moved against them to try to curse them, to try to bring the dark arts against Israel, they could not withstand the beauty and the light and the power of the Holy One. And he just spoke blessings and blessings and more blessings over them. It just thrills me.
It does.
So,
And that is the thing that I love about this, is that, yes, this is a specific circumstance, right?
mhm.
This is a specific circumstance that happened, but what is the Torah? The Torah is teaching us how to live life. So this example is how we live life. So we have to know that in the midst of the cuckoo that's going on, that the Holy One is behind the scenes. He's in our tomorrows. He's going ahead. He's going behind. He is encompassing. And all of those details are not things that we have to be focused upon. What we need to keep our eyes focused upon is his face. We need to be in his presence and purposing to put our eyes upon him. And that's not being outside of, um, how do I say this? That doesn't mean that you're not engaged in your life. That's not what it means at all. What it means is that you are recognizing the sovereignty of God. It doesn't mean that you're not engaging in anything that's happening. He's going to bring things up to you, and then of course you're going to be obedient. You're going to take that step. You're going to take that move. You're going to turn right. You're going to turn left. Whatever it is that he directs you to. But the neat thing is that that's where we get to dwell, not in the what ifs and the I wonder hows. And if everybody knew what was going on, they would be fearful and quaking and
Right.
shaking, right? Like the 10 spies that went out into the land. What they saw terrified them. Instead of them saying, "Oh my gosh, look at what we're gonna get." Instead, it was like, "Oh my gosh, look at what's gonna come after us."
And I think this really leads us into how we're live to live our lives through Torah being the filter and the lens that we view things. And as we use Torah to shape our worldview, it's going to
Mhm.
shape our behaviors. And one of the things that occurred to me was I was reading this is that while Israel couldn't be cursed, they could be tempted.
Absolutely.
And James says that, every man is tempted when he's drawn away by his own lust. I
Mm,
read, oh gosh, I think about 14 scriptures this morning about how God tries our hearts. He tests our hearts. He examines our hearts. He says the heart is desperately wicked, and who can know it? And we want to just run grab a fig leaf every time we think we're going to be revealed, and go hide behind the tree with the fig leaf saying, and he's saying, come boldly to the throne of grace. Let me search your heart. Search me and know me and try my heart and see if there be any twisted way in my heart. And so Israel doesn't know that. They're still coming out from the 11 months of sitting at his feet, basking in his love under the chuppah. And now they've gone through some trials and some tests, and they're being reorganized and restructured. And it's no longer about the individual, it's about the kingdom. They've got a kingdom focus, and they have beautiful tents, and they're a mighty army with banners, and they're growing into a maturity. And now it is time for the Lord to teach them that you really can't just trust your own heart. And so while they couldn't be cursed, they could be seduced, and they could fall into spiritual harlotry. And we can do that in a New York minute, as if we take our eyes off the Holy One.
yeah.
If we don't walk in pace and in step with him, then we're going to be looking around at all of the distractions. And I cannot imagine the distinction between the Midianite women that came in that had the exotic beauty and the beautiful clothes and fabulous
The
food to offer,
fragrances.
and the excitement, and it's dark, and it's titillating, and it stimulates the senses. It's sensory overload to these guys, and they fall prey to that in a minute. We do this all the time. We just don't always recognize it. And I think so many times, after being on the church prayer chain for years, I can tell you, I got really sick and tired of people saying, just basically what they're saying is, I want the Lord to deliver me or my family out of these circumstances, but we don't want to change.
Right.
But we don't want our hearts to be revealed. We don't want to be uncovered. We don't want to be repentant. We just wanted things to be better. And he says to me, I'm in the middle of your mess. I'm in the middle of the darkest, nastiest things that our families can go through. He's in the middle of it, just like he was speaking through Balaam and not allowing that cursing to go out over Israel. He does that to us too, but he will reveal our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
So my thinking about this is we've got to watch out for spiritual deception, which I believe is the main theme of this week's parsha. And the only way we're going to know if it's his voice or the voice of the hireling or the evil one is to know what Torah says. When I used to work at the bank, they tell you that if you're going to recognize a counterfeit dollar bill, you get that knowledge by seeing the real thing over and over and over and over again. And then when the fake thing comes along, it just jumps right out. It's just like, ooh, that's not. And I think Torah is the same way. Everything around here is counterfeit. Everything is bathed in manipulation and deception. And we could wear our "What Would Jesus Do" bracelets like we did years ago. But what would he do? How would we know what he would do if we divorce ourselves from Torah? So for me, looking at this week, it's about using Torah as a filter, making sure that whatever else I'm hearing, no matter who the speaker is that I'm listening to, no matter if I already love them, don't filter that against what I already know, but filter that against what does Torah say? What does the Psalm say? What do the prophets say? What did Yeshua say? What did the Talmudim say? And if it lines up and it correlates there, then I know I'm not going to get out there and be caught up in spiritual deception. And the other thing is reigning in our flesh. Our flesh wants what it wants, and curtailing that and not indulging it all the time. I mean, that's my number one opposition. It's not a demon hiding behind the bush. It's my flesh that's saying, I want, I need. So anyway, that's kind of how I looked at Balaam.
Oh, that's so good. Thank you so much. I so appreciate. I wrote that down. Using Torah as the filter. What would Yeshua do? What would he be doing? How do we know if we are not in his word, if we are not wrapping ourselves with his word? Um, I feel that one of the things that I have struggled with coming from a very, you know, drenched life in doctrinal things is that there's this thought of, you everything's good and you can do what you want to do because Jesus is taking care of it all. And and he has, and yet if we don't participate, then the benefit of that, there's no benefit to that. If we continue in our sin, if we continue being Torahless, then we don't get the benefits of what walking in his ways actually produces here and now. And we don't get the benefits of them in the hereafter, in the benefits of that in the hereafter. It's not that we're earning it, but we are required to participate. This is what we do. This is the joy of the life that we get to live, is that we get to participate and we get to take a hold of these things and struggle with them and wrestle with them and say, I don't get it. I don't understand it. And walk it out as a community. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, there, the scripture this morning that I told the ladies, that I had, and I wasn't sure how it would fit in. And here it is. It is, when my people over whom my name is called humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their evil ways. See, there's a part of it that we are required to do. The requirement is we must turn from our ways. We have to see the difference between what is tameh and what is tahor. We have to. What is giving life and what is not? What is fulfilling the destiny of life and what is not? We have to see that. And then it says, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. And now my eyes will be open, and he's hearing, right? He's hearing the petitions of the people. He's filling them up. He's doing what it is, 2 Chronicles 7:14, by the way. And he's doing this, but we have to participate. We have to humble ourselves. We have to turn away from our wicked ways. We have to seek his face. And when we get to do that, it prepares us to be a participant with him, to be equally yoked with him. Isn't that beautiful? And it's not earning. And I don't know who needs to hear that this morning, but somebody needs to hear that. It's not earning your salvation. You can't earn your salvation. It's a gift. It's been given. You can't earn it. You can't unearn it. But what you do get to do is participate. And that's what he's asking of us. So Erica, jump on in.
One of the things that struck me when Linda was talking was that sometimes we want to call those seductions that we give into curses.
Mm-hmm.
And those tests and things, like we're so quick to say that we are being cursed or we're being attacked or, those kind of, to be delivered. Mm-hmm. And there's a place for that. But yet I think we're quick to give it over to something that we don't have control of.
Right.
And in the power of Yeshua, we have control of all of those things. Mm-hmm. But yet it's the enemy that is attacking. Was it the enemy's plan? It was certainly the enemy's plan, right? So, but it's us that takes that step. And I think that's one of those things that we have to watch out for.
Right. It's being held accountable, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with being held accountable. We expect that from our children, don't we? We
right?
expect when we tell them, don't answer the door when mommy's not home. We expect them to not answer the door when mommy's not home. We don't expect them to throw the door open the minute we drive out of the driveway.
Right.
And there's consequences to it, right? And I love that what's happening right now is that we are all being made aware, like we're awakening up, and we're like, oh, this is something that I'm participating in. It's okay that temptations come and trials come. Those are the things that squeeze us and crush us and work those things out of us that have to come out of us. That's life. That's the way that it goes. It's not it's not a curse, like you were saying. It's actually, curse in its essence just means making small, putting down, putting down and making small. And blessing means opening and expanding, and it means fullness. It means, walking into a fullness. And what happens is we can't walk into that fullness if we're trying to hang on to the harlotry, of the city. We can't. We can't, because it's not good for us. It's not good for the people around us. It's not good for the kingdom. So it's not that God's picking on us. It's that, hey, look, we don't want you walking into the land with all of this stuff. This stuff has to be left behind. This is where you've been delivered from. And we get to recognize it, and we get to participate in it. And then all of a sudden, don't you think that we stand up and our shoulders are a little bit straighter, and we're like, yeah, this is ours. We have walked through this. Now I see. If it was all just handed to us, just willy-nilly, we wouldn't own it. Does that make any sense?
Well, you can take that right back to your kids. We see that in generations that haven't had to work for, what do you appreciate most? When you have to pay for it yourself or not pay for it yourself. And not that we're paying for our salvation, but as you said, when we're walking with him in it, it's that idea of, and it's not even so much that we have to do this work. It's we get to do this work.
Yes.
And I'll never forget hearing someone when I was in college at one of our like Christian get-togethers. We had a guest speaker, and he talked about, going to work. He goes, you got to change your mindset. You don't have to go to work. You get to go to work. And so, yeah, I got to pump myself up with that sometimes. And it's the same way, so I think, with the work of the Father. And sometimes that's the work in us. So it's not, it's not, I have to do this, I have to, I have to work on my anger, or I have to work on, that bitterness, or I have to figure out how to forgive someone. But it's like, I get to participate in that. I get to participate in serving the person I'm walking with here. I get to serve with my family and my assembly, whatever situation that we're in. Like you said, he's calling us to partner.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Bonnie, what are your thoughts? Hey, sis.
Can you hear me?
Yep, sure can.
I think I'm a little bit everywhere with thoughts. I'm just going to read a little bit here. It says, when Balaam realized that it was pleasing in the eyes of Adonai to bless Israel, he did not resort to sorceries as at the other times, but turned his face toward the wilderness. I was picturing Yeshua in the wilderness and everything, all the temptations coming at him, and what Linda was talking about, how he fought all of these temptations with the Torah, speaking the Torah. And it says, lifting up his eyes, Balaam saw Israel dwelling by tribes, and the Ruach Elohim came over him. he uttered his oracles and said, this is the oracle of Balaam, son of Beor, and the oracle of a strong man. And we hear Yeshua talking about the strong man. He says, whose eye has been opened. The oracle of one hearing God's speech and seeing Shaddai's vision. One fallen down yet with open eyes. And we're in the month of vision, and I kept thinking about our eyesight and our vision and how we're seeing. And we, you know, I flipped open my Bible the other morning just randomly. I'm holding my coffee. It's just a morning at my kitchen table, and I just randomly flip it open, and it landed on Ezekiel 12. And I set my coffee cup down and I grabbed a pen because I counted over 20 words that had to do with eyes, in their sight, vision, daylight. And so I was meditating on that because the Father says they have eyes, but they did not see. And I was led this week to John 9, where Yeshua heals a man who was blind from birth. And we know that the disciples ask him who sinned, him or his parents, and he says neither, right? And so the story gets a little bit comical because after Yeshua opens the man's eyes, the elite of the day are wanting to find fault, and they're wanting to find out who is this guy, right? And so they go to the man, and he tells them that Yeshua put mud on his eyes and saliva and told him to go wash, and that he's healed. And so they don't believe him. They need to talk to his parents. And they go get his parents, and his parents have this fear of man. They have this fear that they will be thrown out of the synagogue. So the parents say, we know that this is our son and that he was born blind. We don't know how he now sees, nor do we know who opened his eyes. Ask him, he's old enough, he's of age, go ask him, right? And so they go back to the blind man and they call him, and so they say, he tells them again, he says, so a second time they called the man who had been blind and said, give glory to God. We know that this man is a sinner. Speaking of Yeshua. The man replied, I don't know whether he's a sinner. One thing I do know is that I was blind, but now I see. So they ask him again, and he says, do you want to hear it again? You don't want to become his disciples too, do you? They rallied at him and said, you're a disciple of that one, but we're disciples of Moses. And we know that God has spoken to Moses, but as for this fellow, we don't know where he is from. And the man replied, that's amazing. You don't know where he is from, yet he opened my eyes. We know that God doesn't listen to sinners, but anyone who fears him and does his will, he hears. Since the beginning of the world, no one has ever heard that anyone has opened the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from God, he couldn't do this. Then they tell him that he was born completely in sin, and they throw him out, okay? But here's the thing that's mind-blowing. Yeshua says, for judgment, I came into this world so that those who don't see may see, and the ones who do see may become blind. And then in verse 40, it says, the Pharisees who were with him heard him say this and asked, we're not blind too, are we? Yeshua said, if you were blind, you would have no sin, but now you say, we see, so your sin remains. And I know that was long, and I am a little everywhere. But the question that I wanted to present is, are we blind so we can see? And how do we become blind so that we can see? Because Balaam was blind and he couldn't see, and then he could see. And his oracle, his proclamation, is some of the most beautiful words ever written. I could meditate on those words. How beautiful are your tents? The waters, the fruit, everything, the cedars. It's one of the most lovely things you can read. But here we have men who know the Torah. We have the elite, and Yeshua saying, you're blind. If you were blind, you could see. And I think we lack that humility. You know, there was a woman that came and anointed Yeshua's feet, and the elite said, if he knew what kind of woman she was, if he was really a prophet, he would know what kind of woman she is. And she knows that she's washing the feet of the greatest prophet that ever walked the earth, and they can't see him. So I feel like we really need to focus on our vision. How are we seeing others? How do we see ourselves? Are we seeing him? Do we need to become blind to some things? So
Wow.
that's where I'm at.
So do we need to become blind to some things, Bonnie?
I think so. I really do. And I think that especially we have to be careful, especially if we're in leadership, because it's the humble servants that can see. It's the humble maiden that says, you know, you've got leprosy. You need to go see the seer. If you would go see the seer, and what does he have to do? He has to get in the water, and the water's, he's like, I got better water, right? I want the prophet to come out and speak something over me, which is kind of what the other women were talking about. I don't want to dip 7 times. And, but it's always these little hidden servants, these people who have been forgiven much, these people that are born blind, that all of a sudden they are really seeing. And so let's try to see well, and also not look at people with stink eyes. Let's try to find.
I'm sure that's in the Bible several places. Stink eye. It is.
I don't think she was on here for our pre-talk, was she? When I said I would
She
be giving
wasn't.
my kids the stink eye? Is
No, sorry.
that allowed with kids? I'm sorry.
That's so good. Wonderful. Sombra, did you have something you wanted to say real quick, sis?
No, not really.
Oh,
But what Bonnie was saying when she was saying about seeing, being blind and seeing, it's the we have to learn to love ourselves and see ourselves as Jehovah made us. And when we see ourselves as Jehovah made us, then we'll live in victory, and we'll live, you know, as the redeemed people. We will live victorious and courageous and completely capable. But there's a flip side to that too. When you see the sinner, you have to see them not as their sin, but you have to see them as how they are made in the image of Jehovah as well. And that's how you love a person, by not just looking at their sin. Because if you look at their sin and you treat them according to their sin, you're just adding to their sin. You're just adding to the lies that they believe.
You're glorifying the sin, right? I mean, yeah,
So we just,
that's good.
yeah, we just need to love everybody the way Jehovah loves everybody, even our enemies.
That's so good. I just love it when you have nothing to say. I just do. Thank you. So you just explained what Bonnie was saying about being blind, that we need to be blind, you bet. We
Yeah.
need to be blind. We need to not see things from the the way that our eyes are looking, just the way that our eyes are looking, and trying to measure what's it going to make me feel like, what's it going to make me. We need to not, that's what we need to be blind to. We need to be seeing people the way that Yeshua sees them. Linda mentioned, Linda, you said something like Yeshua is the Torah. We need to see through his eyes. We need to be judging things through his eyes. And I really love that, Sambra. What you're saying is we need to judge people through the eyes of Yeshua, which means that we're not judging them by their sin.
Right.
We're finding the divine spark within them. And that's the thing that we speak to. That's the thing that we fan. That's the flame that we ignite, not their misdeeds.
But
And
it's
that's being blind
it's
to their misdeeds, and seeing them for who
and
Yahweh
but
sees them.
if you take it out of out of the individual level to the
Mm-hmm.
humanity level,
Yes.
we're seeing a pretty awful world right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if we just focus on what our eyes see in the physical realm, in the whole world, what we're seeing right now,
Mm-hmm.
and we just live in that, that's a lot of fear that can
Oh my
destroy
gosh.
us.
Yeah.
We have to take our eyes off that and look
Yeah.
towards what's beyond this, because we know
Mm-hmm.
1,000 will fall at one side, 10,000 at the other. We know this is going to happen. Just accept it as fact and reality. It's
Mm-hmm.
awful, it's gross, but what's the purpose of it? And God, everything that God created, he has to destroy before he rebuilds.
Right.
And so just trust that there is a rebuilding that's coming.
Yeah.
And keep your eyes focused on that rebuilding that's coming,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the hope.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at what's falling around beside us,
Mm-hmm.
that's scary.
Yes. I think that if we, in hearing all of this that's being said, and we know that what's happening right now everywhere is chaos and all of those things, and it can grab a hold of our emotions. Okay, so Linda was bringing up the point about the Balaam knew that Israel couldn't be cursed, but they could sure be tempted. So this is what's happening. This is what's happening in the earth right now, is that there are all of these things that are tempting us to be fearful. And it's not that they're not happening, but I love that what we're seeing is if we will saturate ourselves in his word and spend that time, like it says here, if you will humble yourself, it just means spend your time in the word. Allow the word to reset your thinking, reset your sight. Allow the word to do that. If we will do that, we will become blind to those things that we don't need to be looking at. And we will have our vision opened to what we need to be gazing upon and how we need to see. And I just love that all of you ladies together are doing this at the same time, hearing the same thing, getting the same message. I love that.
Brenda, can I share?
Please.
Rhonda,
Mm-hmm.
she's my friend. Her chat came directly to me, and she said that those seductive temptations are invasive moments, but if we turn, if we teshuva and turn our eyes or sights towards him, which is our action, that's our partnership from temptation, we walk toward the Father, and victory is won.
Say that again, please.
Those seductive temptations are invasive moments, but if we turn and teshuva and turn our eyes or sight, and when we're turning, that's, our partnership, our action with him. We're turning from the temptation and we walk toward the Father. Our victory is won.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. We're almost at the point now where I wanted to start opening up. And if there's anyone else that needs to say something, Sombra, you're saying, I love that, Lori Dawn. And Lori Dawn said something in the chat that I missed. So for those that are listening to the podcast or listening on the replay, I will just read this. It says, so I work in a soup, is this okay to say? Yeah. So I work in a soup kitchen 3 nights a week, and most of the people eating there are regulars and people who have been kicked out of their reservations because they're not making better choices. It would be easy to judge them and not serve them. Yet I want to serve them, and it doesn't make any sense. I have a very judgmental personality, and yet all I have for them is compassion, and I wish I could do more and see them get free emotionally and spiritually so they no longer need to use the soup kitchen. Abba has blinded my judgments. It is truly supernatural. Father, thank you so much. Yes. Yes. Isn't that beautiful? Right there, that's exactly what we're talking about. He's blinded you, because that scripture, if we just read that scripture in English, it doesn't even make any sense. It's like, be blind, be blind so you can see. That doesn't make any sense. But here we are, Bonnie. That's what's being said. Be blind to those things. Be blind to the judgment. Sydney says, I've learned over the past couple of months that if I focus on fear that I have about what's going on to my left and to my right, I can miss the blessing that he has for my family. I've come to the point that I stop worrying and I'm trusting in his plan and timing. And that's been really hard for me over this issue. Yes. And yet, isn't that the beauty of it? It's like everyone in this community is getting this. I mean, not just this community. Of course I'm prejudiced, but because, we got the best of the best, but we're waiting for the other best of the best to come in. Right. But that's really, it's a theme that he's saying. He's telling us, like this morning, I got it out of 2 Chronicles 7:14. Bonnie got it out of John 9. Erica got it out of this, what you were reading. Linda got it out of, the book of Numbers. It's like we're all getting the same story. That's why I was so excited this morning to have a few people that are going to be speaking, and we didn't coordinate all of this. This is just what we knew, that the Holy One was going to be speaking to us. And we knew that coming from different perspectives and coming from different angles, right, Sombra, we're all getting it. We're all being pulled into this at the same time. And I love that. And I don't want anyone to be feeling left out because they're not, if maybe you're not being able to be on here live, well, that's okay. We'll have other things that we can do live, and we will make sure that we have live events so that those of you that are, not available during the daytime, we will have those. We will make that happen. But this is what's happening right now, ladies. He's calling us. We're moving into the times and seasons of this, the times and seasons of the Holy One. We're moving toward them. We're on a path right now. This is, Charlie said it so well, this is the season where it's a lot of downtime. There's not a lot of stuff happening, not a lot of festivals, not a lot of things that are going on right now. It's that in-between point, which we're having the conference coming up on Sunday, and that conference is talking about the in-between. It's talking about the waiting period. This is truly, truly the waiting period that we're in right now. And we're going to be seeing things happening and occurring, but before they happen and before they occur, we're in the in-between time. What are we going to do with it? How are we preparing? What are we doing? I love Lori Dawn. I love what you're doing. You know what you're doing? You're being blind. Isn't that awesome? Because your blindness is allowing you to see the hand of Yeshua operating in the lives of those that may be considered unlovely, right? It's precious, just beautiful. All right, I want somebody else to speak. Linda.
Something I've been hearing in my heart too in the last, day and a half is that the Spirit and the bride say, come. And I really think it's directly related to this upcoming conference. And what the Lord asked me this morning was, what is that about? He's trying to get me to unpack that a little bit, and I can't say that I fully have, but what it seems to me is that the Holy Spirit and the bride now are in agreement. They are one. I believe in that verse in Revelations. It's not 19:10, and let me read it. Maybe that'll help. Oh no, that was the testimony of Yeshua, is the spirit of prophecy. Sorry. The spirit of the bride say come is at the very end of the book. And I believe that's a glossary, so I guess I went too far.
Turn back.
Yes. How come when you're really
It's-
looking for something, your eyes can't see it?
It's Revelations 22:17.
I'm looking right at it, but I couldn't see it. Okay. The spirit of the bride say come. Let anyone who hears say come. And let anyone who is thirsty come. Let anyone who wishes take the water of life free of charge.
Oh,
I keep hearing that, and I really believe that this waiting is about getting us in agreement with what the Holy Spirit is doing in us, and not to make it just about we're all a work in progress and we all only have things that the Lord's trying to do with. To make it not just to make it about that, but I do believe that because we really do live in a pagan society. And there's a lot of things I think that we have embraced that we thought were perfectly acceptable. And it's time to cast off a lot of those things, and not just stuff that we do, but mindsets and attitudes. And Lori Dawn talking about, the judgmental spirit that we can walk at, a critical spirit. Honey, I battle with that one all the time. But I believe he's wanting to purge those things that are talked about in Galatians 5 before the fruits of the Spirit, when he talks about those works of the flesh. I really believe that he's carving out a place in us so that those things no longer exist in us, and he fills that with his Spirit, so that we can no longer hide behind the tree with the fig leaf, but we can truly step out as the bride and say, come, come. We're no longer walking in shame, but we're walking in that double portion. We're no longer in filthy garments, but we're clothed in those white garments, which is the righteous works of the saints. So what are the righteous works of the saints? Well, if you don't know Torah, you're not going to know the righteous works of the saints, because it's not really about works. It's about a heart of compassion, a heart of mercy, a heart of love, a heart of joy. Like Mother Teresa said, how do you know what woman to send into the dumps of Calcutta? How do you choose these little sisters to go into this place? And she said, if they're not completely filled with joy, they cannot go, because it will destroy them. They have to know how to have that joy within themselves, that joy in God, to be able to face the darkness. And I believe that that's what the Lord's trying to do. I think he's trying to prepare us for the darkness that is to come, and the darkness that we already walk in.
Yeah.
But we need to be equipped. And we can't be filled with something. We're already filled with something. It's like this blind and yet and seeing thing. It's the same principle. We need to release the things that we've been holding on to while we wait, and allow him to unpack that stuff and give us better tools. Because I believe the next level that we're going to be entering into is going to be a struggle without that extra equipping. And that's why we've been encouraging people in the portion to pray for this upcoming conference, to pray for our leadership and our speakers, to pray for every attendee, that the preparation in our hearts will occur well in time before then.
yes.
And we will be able to cooperate with that work. We will be able to enter in quickly to that work. And he won't have to use a chisel, My spiritual mom once said, hey, Linda, pray like this. Lord, teach me with a feather, not with a rock. And I pray that. Sometimes I do get the rock though, because I asked for it and I got it. But anyway, I really think that as we're waiting, we're waiting to see the glory of God. And we
Yes.
will see his glory as we just yield and submit and allow him to develop those hidden treasures in our heart that he's really wanting to release.
Yes. Amen. Oh, so beautiful. Ladies, you are awesome. Let me share a little bit of the chat so that those of you who are not live can also participate in this. Here we go. Lori Dawn said, seriously though, last week there was a theme as well, and it matched up exactly with what our Shabbat group was being shown. The Ruach is orchestrating everything if we pay attention and open our eyes. And Sombra agreed, because it doesn't matter if we're reading the same Torah portion or not. The Spirit is speaking the same thing to us. He is speaking to us and drawing us together in unity. And I love that so much. Okay. And Lori Dawn said, that song, oh no, should I say it? Lori Dawn says, that old song just popped into my head. It's joy unspeakable and full of glory, full of glory, full of glory. Yeah, that song, now it's going to be in my head like, like the little song on the children's song. I don't even want to think about it on Disneyland. Okay. And yes, and Sombra's saying, yes, even though we're on a different calendar, we are seeing these things happen too. 100% absolutely. Is he not sovereign? He is sovereign. He is the creator of the universe. So Sombra,
I was thinking he is timeless,
he
because
is timeless.
as Linda
Yes.
was saying, that verse, the Spirit and the bride come, the Spirit and the bride say come. And as she said the word say, I'm like, hold on a second. He's saying this and he's saying that. And she's saying the Spirit is saying this and the Spirit is saying that. You know what? The Spirit is saying all of this,
Yeah.
all at one time, to all of us. It's all meaningful, all in the same moment. We are the ones that live in time.
Exactly.
We're the ones that it took 3,000, 2,000 years to write this out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're the ones that it had to be revealed to us, but all of it, every word of it, and it can all be condensed down into love.
Yes. So I just got a vision, and we're going to be ending our Tuesday talk here in just a moment. But I just had the vision of the building of the tabernacle, and how all of the pieces jointly fit together, right? Every one of them, all the little hooky bobs and all, I don't know what all those things are, all the little hooky bobs and all the little thingy dings that go into it and that hold on. And it's all of us being fitly joined together. And when we do that, when we're blind to judgment, when we're blind to fault, when we are open to seeing the light of the face of Messiah, and we're seeing that in other people, all of a sudden, no matter what our disagreements are, we can come together and be unified and build something beautiful. And he is building his people right now in the Torah portions, in everything that is happening right now throughout the world. He is building his people and unifying us if we will obey, if we will listen. I had an image this morning of us at if it was this morning or last night, I can't remember, Erica, but being at the foot of Mount Sinai and just crying out, I will, I will, I will, I will, I will. But not just saying it with our lips, but really saying it, I will, I will. And what that means is I will, I choose, I'm going to set aside my own will so that my will is your will, so that your will is my will. Letting go, just completely letting go, and just running up the mountain to be in his presence. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but that's just what hit me. It's like, Father, I just want to let go of my will. I want to say, I will to you, not to my own agendas. And in doing that, that's we have unity with one another when we do that. When we let go of our own stuff, all of a sudden we have all this room for other people. Because if we are not in community, we are out of the will of God. We have to be in community with others. We have to be linking arms. That's what Ishas are. Ishas are this. That's what Ishas do. They link together to incorporate strength in union. And that's what we're doing. And we can't do that when we're saying, we can't do it that way. We have to do it by just letting go. And it doesn't make us weak. It makes us strong. And when we link arms one with another, wow, it's beautiful. Um, uh, who was it that said that? Said that it's the most beautiful. I think it was you, Bonnie, that said it's the most beautiful words. The most beautiful words that were being said. And wasn't it Balaam that said that? Oh, how lovely are the tents. I mean, seriously, this is a man whose agenda was monetary. He was deliberately purposing to just make money. I mean, that was his thing. And yet the Holy One didn't even let him, but he let him see the beauty of the unity of the people. And in that moment when his eyes gazed, I'm sure that what he was seeing was so spiritual, because what he was seeing was the unity and the beauty of the brethren dwelling together. That's what we need to be purposing to see with our eyes and being blind to the other things. So ladies, thank you so much for today. We're going to have an after party here. We are going to end our recording. Thank you so much for listening, everyone that's listening by podcast. Thank you so much for those of you that are watching the replay. We love you. And for those of you that are here, hang on. Let's get over there and have an after party for a little bit. We love you so much. We will see you next Tuesday. Be blessed.